Dr. Chike Akunyili, husband to late former Information Minister Professor Dara Akunyili, has been reportedly murdered by gunmen. According to reports, he was killed at Umuji in Idemili North Local Government area of Anambra State on Tuesday evening. Though details of the incident are still sketchy, a source close to the family said the deceased was still at the University of Nigeria Nsukka Alumni Association, where the late Dara was honored some hours before he was killed. We'll bring you details of this in our subsequent bulletins. The corpse of a young lady whose identity is yet to be known has been dumped around the Redeemed Church and CAC OK Temidere and OK Ijebu, Akure, Ondo State Capital. The corpse was dumped by people suspected to be internet fraudsters, popularly known as Yahoo Boys, who drove off after dumping the dead body. The corpse was wrapped in a white cloth.
For now, we do not have any information about her. But of course, immediately she's been taken to the morgue, autopsy will be carried out on her so that we'll know what actually led to her death. I think she's more like, it's more of a suspected deranged woman. Maybe she fell on her way or something like that. The police has been there. In fact, the police had consulted the Ministry of Environment so that the corpse can be carried to the closest mortuary.
We met her like this, so nobody know the time they dump her. Nobody know the time they dump her. They just dump her here. It was people that got the, I didn't know where they get the clothes. They cover her body, so they just dump her.
There was tension in Abuja on Tuesday following a clash between security operatives and members of the Islamic Movement of Nigeria, otherwise known as Shiites. Although an eyewitness said there were 2 dead bodies and many injured persons, the IMN claimed it lost 8 members to the incident. But the police, which said no death was recorded, added that 57 IMN members, including 18 females, were arrested. Petrol bombs and dangerous weapons like stones were recovered from the trekkers by the operatives made up of policemen, soldiers, and the Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps. The dash or clash came barely 2 weeks after 2 IMN members were shot dead and 2 policemen wounded in a similar protest by the group at the National Assembly complex in Abuja. The Shiites were yesterday holding their annual Arbaeen trek near the Tricycle Park at 3rd Avenue in Gwarimpa district of Abuja when the fracas broke out. Now, former 2nd Vice President of Nigerian Bar Association, NBA, Dr. Mandi Ubani, has threatened to drag the federal government to court over alleged reappointment of the medical director of the Federal Medical Center, Abeokuta, Ogun State, Professor Adewale Musa Olomu, despite an indictment against him. Addressing a press conference in Lagos, Ubani stated that Professor Musa Olomu, who was appointed as MD of FMC Abeokuta in 2017, ought not to have had his appointment renewed since he was indicted over age falsification, gross misconduct, and abuse of office by the Board of Medical Center 2 months ago.
The findings of the committee were stated thus: the real age of medical director they found from all the schools where he attended and where he actually applied for work. They found that there were consistency in certain ages, certain records, until when he wanted to enter into his employment, then he now had to falsify his age. There is evidence of abuse of office also, which was followed, which did not follow due process. His abuse was because of the fact that he didn't follow due process. Now, in approving a training for his son overseas, who was just employed 4 months after. Now, this is also against the provisions of public service rules. And then finally, this issue of CT scan machine that was procured, which turned out to be a refurbished one and not a new one, but it was bought as a new one. So they now made a recommendation. The recommendation of the panel was that this particular information should be now forwarded to the relevant authorities for further necessary action, which includes determination of his age. And then they also said that there must be a proper audit that led to this procurement of the CT scan machine as new, even though it was a refurbished one. And then also from the evidence available to the board of the management through investigative committee, they found out that the age of the medical director was clearly tampered with.
Oyo State Governor Sheyi Makinde on Tuesday evening hosted the Inspector General of Police Usman Baba and requested for a new mobile police squadron in Oyo town. And Makinde personally received the IGP and his entourage in his office at Agodi, Ibadan, the state capital.
I've confronted with our people, all the agencies. When we started Amotekun, it was, an hostile venture because the police felt, maybe we're getting people to come and take over their, jobs and responsibilities. But over these few months, with the leadership, of police in the state, we've had serious cooperation.
You are talking about two things, and both of them will add value to the police. In terms of strength, we are going to increase the population of our workforce, and that will make us to cover a lot of ungoverned spaces and also make policing closer to the people by deploying more officers. The community policing strategy is also another strategy of bringing in people who will assist the police, who will take over the community policing of their own area, because these are people who have interest in ensuring that there is law and order within the immediate community.
The Lagos State Fire Rescue Service earlier today curtailed the fire incident at Alfred Olaiya Estates Salvation Bus Stop, Opebi, Ikeja, Lagos. Fire, which alerted at wee hours on Wednesday, involved a peddler truck conveying diesel, which was meant to supply a client within the vicinity, reportedly fell on its side while negotiating a bend and erupted in fire. The firefighters battled the inferno and salvaged it from spreading to the residential neighborhood in order not to cause further threat. Now, the Pan-Yoruba Socio-Political Organization INFERNO has insisted that the country must be restructured before the next general election. The group said this in a communique on Tuesday at the end of the meeting held at the house of acting leader Ayo Adebanjo in Ijebu-Igbo, Ogun State. The communique was made available to journalists in Ibadan by the National Publicity Secretary of INFERNO, Jare Ajayi. The group said restructuring was the solution to the many problems confronting the country, adding that this must be done to tackle the problem of insecurity and many others. The governor of Oyo State, Boyega Oyetola, says his administration's commitment towards putting necessary mechanisms in place to build Yoruba Museum of a global standard in Ile-Ife. Governor Oyetola gave the assurance in Ile-Ife at the grand finale celebration of 2021 edition of Olojo Festival held at the Palace of Oni of Ife.
More of such events will unite Nigeria as one. I'm a Hausa man. I came all the way from Gombe State to celebrate this memorable event with His Imperial Majesty and the entire Yoruba race. So I believe there are many people coming from the southeastern part of the country, so also from the southern part of the country. So it's an event that brings all diverse ethnic groups together to celebrate the festival of Olojo, organized by His Imperial Majesty.
To this gathering is for us to celebrate with the sons and daughters of Ile-Ife on this year's Olojo Day. Olojo Day that signifies the day of creation, which we believe originated from Ife, and that this is part of our culture. And it's one of the things that the state government is promoting, culture and tourism. And we can see the display of various traditions, culture here today. And the governor says that
The Executive Secretary, National Board to Technical Education, Professor Idris Mugaje, advocates skills learning and not over-reliance on degree certifications. Mugaje was represented by Ayo Aroge, the General Manager, NBTE, during a 100,000 naira worth of scholarship award by the International Psychometric Center to the emerging overall best student at a recently held psychometrics examination.
It is a journey that we will get to one day, and with the effort of the National Board for Technical Education in preaching skill and not degree, and that is where the development lies now, because it is not what you have, it is what you can do. So with this, it is a matter of time we shall get there.
And that's what psychometrics introduces to the students. Psychometrics will make you to identify your ability. It will make you to identify what you will be good at. If you studied banking and finance, that doesn't mean that you will excel when you get to the bank. You might excel as an entrepreneur. Far, psychometrics have started in 13 polytechnics. But so far, we've done scholarship award and presentation in 4 polytechnics. And in the next 2 months, we'll be covering 3 or 4 other polytechnics for this kind of occasion.
We know the environment under which they have been trained, and given opportunity, they can perform wonders. And that has even shown during the COVID-19. Out of all the students in Nigeria, University, Polytechnic combined together, we are the only student that manufactured the ventilator at a very low cost. And it was adjudged to be a good one. We have presented paper internationally on it, Q1 journals. They have reckoned with it that yes, it's a step in the right direction. So I'm not surprised my students are following these footsteps.
National Water Resources Institute Kaduna, in collaboration with the state government, has called on residents of Kaduna and the environs to desist from indiscriminate dumping of refuse and dead animals into drainages and waterways to sustain the river by making it a source of revenue generation through tourism and water transportation. World Rivers Day is a global celebration of the world's waterways observed every last Sunday of September. It was established in 2005 with the aim to highlight the values of rivers and strives to increase public awareness to encourage improved stewardship of rivers around the world.
Yes, this is a day that is already set aside to create awareness and spotlight the importance of rivers in our communities. And I've said, Kaduna State government have embarked on the protection of the rivers through re-establishing the setbacks.
Human beings over the years have come to value the use of water. We are used to water rivers as a source of our water intake for water consumption, for damming, for water power generation, for irrigation purposes, for tourism, and for even urbanization.
We intend to escalate it as we go around, but we have to create enough sensitization for people to know the importance of water. Unfortunately, it is one sector that has not been given the right, would I say, emphasis in terms of people realizing that water is just impossible to do without. And it is our responsibility also to make sure people understand this. Because water is available, so people assume that it will always be available. But if you don't manage it well, problems will start.